Hey, what's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and today we're talking about thrash metal band HARLOTT and their new album Detritus of the Final Age via Metal Blade Records. And hey, if you like to be kept up to date with the best and brightest metal bands and albums from the underground and above, then stick with me by hitting that subscribe button down below. HARLOTT are an Australian band that continue to adhere closely to the classic thrash formula to the degree that they could have come out of some 80s time capsule. This was both a praise and a criticism of their 2017 album Extinction, but now back with two new members in tow and significant life events fueling the songwriting, HARLOTT seemed prepared to take everything that was great about that record and take it to the next level.
In this endless cycle, violence is our only joy. Worthless life gives us reckless abandon to employ.
These guys have really distilled down everything I love most about that classic thrash metal sound to its best elements and left everything else on the cutting room floor. One of my primary criticisms of most thrash metal songs I hear today is that they're often overly long without having the content to truly justify the runtimes. As such, it's no small wonder that my favorite tracks on this album are the ones that are lean and mean and go straight for the jugular like Idle-Minded and Slaughter. To me, this is where the genre truly shines, carving out all of the fat in favor of high-energy riffs and frantic vocals clocking in somewhere around the 3 or 4 minute mark, as with some of the most legendary moments from the likes of Slayer and Exodus. Too much repetition only muddles the point, and for thrash, that point should always be kept razor sharp for maximum penetration. Sorry, that metaphor sounded way less sexual in my head. And amidst the already impressive hooks, it just wouldn't truly be a proper thrash metal record without some solos, and on this front, Detritus of the Final Age doesn't let us down either, with some real rippers and face burners for the guitar enthusiasts out there. I find myself particularly shredded by this one from the title track. Of course, there's also the matter of the vocals, which I've got to say I'm almost surprised how much I like them over the course of this entire album. As someone who tends to be more fond of death and black metal vocals or even just straight up singing, these days I tend to be turned off by the gruff, kind of just shouted style of the bands of yore. But even so, HARLOTT managed to keep me not only engaged thanks to covering a broad range of both personal and topical lyrics, but frequently got me singing along to the very catchy and infectious choruses. Now, HARLOTT do also like to throw in some slower, more large-scale tracks into the mix with big marching epics like Bring on the War, Nemesis, and the nearly 9-minute closer, Miserere of the Dead. When it comes to thrash, I've always been more inclined towards the faster, more to the point stuff, but this band does an excellent job of bringing enough dynamics to the songwriting that recalls classics like Master of Puppets and Justice for All. These tracks are driven primarily by big, powerful riffs that conjure imagery of an endless parade of stomping boots and raised rifles heading to battle. But even with the more grim tone, there's also room for some fun hooks here. Nemesis in particular has a few with some pretty undeniable Lamb of God vibes. And then, seemingly just for fun, the boys close things out with an interestingly thrashy take on the Cannibal Corpse song, The Time to Kill Is Now. Cover tracks often bore me, but I do enjoy a good genre swap when it's done right, and this one had me grinning from ear to ear throughout its duration. I really don't want to spoil too much, but just here's a little taste of it.
Time to kill is now! Time to kill is now! Time to kill is now!
So all in all, Detritus of the Final Age is a solid banger of a record, and really one of only a small handful of thrash releases I'd truly recommend in 2020. It's mostly fast and hard, and the guitars really shine throughout. I will say that there are still some areas where I would trim a little more fat, especially on some of the longer songs. Again, they do a good job of mostly keeping things interesting enough to keep those ones going, but I think particularly the final track does get a little dull for me in certain parts. Turning to my scales, I give it a 9 for enjoyability. Pretty consistent stuff that is explosive and entertaining for the majority of its duration. I'd be interested to see the band challenge themselves to doing like a 35-minute record with the current lineup. I think that kind of exercise in brevity can really make for a razor-sharp outcome. I give it a 9 for musicianship. Again, the instrumentation here is top-notch for the genre, especially highlighting the guitars, and furthermore, the songwriting choices on the longer tracks are certainly worthy of note. And I give it a 7 for innovation. If you're looking for some new and fresh ideas in the genre, you're not going to find them here. HARLOTT seem much more focused on paying tribute to and fine-tuning the classic sound. So an 8.3 overall and a B for HARLOTT and Detritus of the Final Age. Get it once more via Metal Blade Records. Y'all, thanks as always for watching, and let me know what you thought of this album down in the comments. Let me know what's your favorite thrash metal album of 2020 so far, and if you enjoyed this album, you should probably check out some of the coverage I've done of Cruel Bomb for a little bit more underground take, a little bit more crossover thrash. I've done 2 reaction videos for their music videos, and then I've also done a small review of their EP on metaltrenches.com. But also stick around in general, because I got plenty more video reviews coming right after this one, also tier lists, interviews with bands on the podcast, you name it, we've got it, so plenty of reasons to subscribe, again, if you have not already. Also in the description, you'll find links to our social media where you can follow us, the email newsletter I send out every Friday, metaltrenches.com for even more reviews and content, and our Patreon and Subscribestar. If you want to take that extra step to becoming a full-on supporter, just $1 a month even gets access to content and helps me keep this train a-rolling. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.